for every team except the Green Bay Packers and the Carolina Panthers, who had a bye in week number 4, every team in the NFL has played 4 games. So this is really the 1/4 way point, the quarter pole of the 2013 NFL season. This is where you start to find out what teams could really be legit, what teams are pretenders, what teams are just flat out bad or kind of middle of the road. Now is a good point where you start to figure these things out slowly but surely. The picture becomes a lot less fuzzy at this point in time in the NFL season. And looking back at week 4, we had some big stories develop. You had, I'm sure, a lot of media attention is being paid to what's happening with Josh Freeman and Greg Schiano and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their decision to bench Josh Freeman. I talked about in my preview video for the Buccaneers this year that I thought this was going to be a negative distraction, a cloud hanging over this organization all year long, and it certainly looks like it. Glennon played, for the most part, in that game Sunday against the Cardinals like a third-round rookie. Early on, he looked okay, but then he didn't look so good. And the Buccaneers are going to be very bad this year, which is a little bit of a surprise, at least to me. I didn't think they were going to be great, but I didn't think they were going to be this bad. But I did mention before that I thought this could be a very bad distraction for this organization all year long, all the subplots with Josh Freeman. Now there's leaks coming out about him being in the NFL drug program. It's going to get very ugly down there in Tampa before the season's over, if it's not already at that point. Positive story has to be the Cleveland Browns. After week 2, they traded Trent Richardson away. They deserved all the crap they got, because this is an organization since they came back into being in 1999 that by and large has been incompetent. They have been bad. So a lot of the crap they deserve, and they've gotten because they've deserved it. They don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. But you have to give credit to Brian Hoyer. The last 2 games, he's led them to victory, a late game heroic type of victory over the Minnesota Vikings. And then the Browns just looked like the better team against the Bengals in week number 4, pretty much from beginning to end on all facets of the game. And Hoyer's really, I feel like, breathed some life and a little bit of stability into that organization right now. And as a result, he has to start now and into the future and throughout the rest of this season for sure, because he's better than anything else they could trot out there at quarterback, including their first-round pick from last year, Brandon Weeden. Make no mistake about it. They're 2-2. They're sitting in the thick of things in the AFC North, and that's all you could really ask for the Browns right now. 2 straight wins after the Trent Richardson trade. Brian Hoyer is a big part of that, and he deserves a lot of credit. The Detroit Lions put a whooping. I don't care what the score says. They put a whooping on my Bears on Sunday. They really did. They gave up some points late, sure, but they were by far the better team in pretty much all facets of the game. The scary thing about the Lions right now is they're 3-1. They're in first place in the NFC North, and Stafford did not look that good on Sunday. He was missing receivers. He was underthrowing them. He was overthrowing them. He was not on the money at all. And Calvin Johnson was relatively well contained by the Bears, and they still put up 40 points. Their defense got in Cutler's face a little bit. They forced him to make some terrible, terrible Cutler-like decisions. Watching that game, I said, that's the Cutler that I know. That's the Cutler that I've seen the past 4+ years in Chicago. Well, he appeared in week number 4. The Lions right now at this particular moment, especially with the way they dismantled the Bears in week number 4, look like the team to beat in the NFC North. 2 other what you might classify as surprise teams right now that are sitting at 4-0, the Kansas City Chiefs. You got to give it hats off to Andy Reid and his staff. That team is playing well. They're playing discipline on offense. They're playing great defense. In 4 games, they've given up 41 points. That's 10.25 points per game. That's damn near a record-setting pace at this point in time in the season. Will they be able to can maintain that pace? I don't know. They played the Broncos twice still, but they are playing some really, really good defense. They run the ball well. That keeps you at least as a contender for the playoff picture in terms of the wild card, which is what I thought they would be before the season even began. So the Chiefs being 4-0, that's a big story. The Saints also being 4-0. My one thing about the Saints was that after 3 weeks, they had beaten the Falcons, they had beaten the Buccaneers, they had beaten the Cardinals. To me, they really hadn't beaten anybody. Well, then Monday night came, and they pretty much owned a team in the Miami Dolphins that I think is pretty good. The Saints are 4-0 now. They are by and large away in first place in the NFC South, and it doesn't look like they're going to come down from that anytime soon. Sean Payton being back has helped. Drew Brees looks great. Their offense looks great. Their defense is playing at least a respectable level, damn near a very good level, actually. There's a lot to like if you're a Saints fan right now. And then you've got the Matt Schaub saga. And the bottom line is when you look at that Seahawks and Texans game, I picked the Texans to win. Like I said, in part to be different, but I didn't think the Seahawks were going to necessarily play that well on the road either. It seemed like the opportunity was right. And the Texans in the first half dominated the Seahawks. They were up 20-3 at halftime. They should have won that game going away. But I've talked about this before, is that mediocre or just okay teams find ways to lose games they should win. And great teams like the Seahawks find ways to win games that they should lose, just like they did with the Carolina Panthers in Week 1. That's why the Seahawks are 4-0, and the Houston Texans are just the Houston Texans, and they're not even first place in the AFC South right now. They're at 2-2. And all this drama going around about Matt Schaub and people burning his jerseys and everything else. Like, you expected Matt Schaub to ever be an elite NFL quarterback? Has he ever been an elite NFL quarterback? This is the Matt Schaub you should know. Yeah, he's been pretty bad this year in some respects. His decision-making at times has been very poor. But Matt Schaub is not an elite guy. He's not a guy for the Houston Texans that can take them over the top and get them to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. He's a guy that gets you in the wild card round, maybe the divisional round. And that's what he's done in Houston. But that's it. I still think the Houston Texans in some ways made a mistake by not trying to address the quarterback position early in this past year's NFL draft. I think it's something they're going to have to address in the 2014 NFL draft. But all this uproar and all this outrage about Matt Schaub, are you really going to tell me that you feel so much better about TJ Yates or Case Keenum? Those are your other options. You really think that, Tyler Yates, whatever. You think Yates or Keenum is going to be so much better than Matt Schaub? You're in a position right now where you're kind of stuck with him. And he's going to give you some really good, and then he's going to give you some very bad. And at the moment, that's the best you're going to get. So all the Texan fans that are up in arms right now and all outraged about Matt Schaub, just cool it down a little bit. You weren't legit Super Bowl contenders before the season started anyways, and you're getting pretty much what you should have expected out of Matt Schaub and this Houston Texans team to begin with. I can understand that it's a little frustrating, yes. I'm a Bears fan. Jay Cutler is my team's starting quarterback. You don't have to tell me anything about that. But calm it down a little bit. It could be a lot worse. Now let's take a look at this quarter point in the season. Who I might feel are the league's MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive and Defensive Rookies of the Year, and then Coach of the Year. NFL MVP right now. There are several great options you could throw out there, especially after only 4 weeks. But just because of his statistical superiority and the way his team's offense is dominating right now, as much as I hate to do it, and I shouldn't do it because of the joke MVP he got in 2009 to give him 4 of these bad boys, right now you can't even deny that Peyton Manning is the league's MVP. His team's 4-0. His offense is dominating teams, just running people out of the building. That team is easily going to set the single season record for most points scored in a season. When you look at Peyton Manning through 4 games, 1,470 passing yards, 16 touchdowns. He's on a pace right now at the quarterway point of the season to have 5,880 yards passing and 64 touchdowns. All the while, 0 interceptions. May he cool off just a little bit? Perhaps. But does he still have a chance to easily shatter the mark for single-season passing yardage and single-season touchdown passes by a quarterback? Oh, easily. You're looking at the Broncos right now. They have 3 guys on pace to have over 1,000 yards receiving, and Decker and Thomas and Welker and Julius Thomas, their tight end, is damn near on pace himself as a tight end. That's 4 potential 1,000-yard receivers. Ridiculous. The Broncos offense, ridiculous what they're doing right now. It's special. So Peyton Manning right now at this point, with his team being undefeated, they've dominated everybody they played. Well, he has to be the MVP after week 4. NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Maybe somebody a little under the radar, but I don't think he should be. He's one of the most underrated defensive players, I believe, in the NFL, and that's Justin Houston of the Kansas City Chiefs. In 4 games, he has 7.5 sacks. His team, most importantly of all, is 4-0, in large part due to the strength of their overpowering defense at this point. 41 points surrendered in 4 games. That's an average of 10.25 points per game, which I said before is pretty much a record-setting pace for fewest points allowed in a 16-game NFL season. Justin Houston, no doubt, is a big part of that, and as a result, at this moment, after 4 weeks, I believe deserves the lead consideration for NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I think both the offensive and defensive rookies of the year right now are in Buffalo. I really do. I think EJ Manuel is the offensive rookie of the year at this point. Through 4 games, he has his team at 2-2, 856 passing yards, 5 TDs, only 3 interceptions. I think there's potential to do even more as the season goes along. I think he's going to end up being a pretty clear runaway winner for offensive rookie of the year. And then when you look defensive side, I think it's Kiko Alonso right now for the Buffalo Bills. In 4 games, he has 4 interceptions, a sack, and a forced fumble. The Bills' defense is a little bit improved. They're still not great, but they're definitely improved. And Kiko Alonso is a big part of that, and another big key contributor as to why the Bills right now are 2-0. I think he deserves a lot of credit. He was a very talented player coming out of Oregon, but he had some off the field issues. It seems like so far he's behaving, he's unleashing his talents on the field, and he's causing some havoc and creating some problems. As far as Coach of the Year, you could argue Sean Payton for the Saints. You could argue for somebody like a Joe Philbin down in Miami. There are some options out there. You could say Munchak in Tennessee. But right now you have to go, I think it's a safe pick, is Andy Reid of the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year that organization won 2 games. They're already at 4-0. They're in a tie for first with the Denver Broncos in the division right now. They're undefeated. You can't say a whole lot more to describe how successful this season has been, at least early on, for the Kansas City Chiefs. And as a result, Andy Reid right now, to me, is a clear-cut choice for Coach of the Year. Now, if you disagree with me, if you think somebody else should be MVP or Defensive Player of the Year or Offensive or Defensive Rookie of the Year or Coach of the Year, let me know down below, and let me know what you think have been the most interesting subplots or storylines in this early portion of the 2013 NFL season. Looking to head to Week 5, my Bears are playing the Saints. There are some other big matchups on the horizon. I'm looking forward to it. It's just so great that football season is here and we're well into the season. The scary thing is it makes the fall go by so quickly, because as soon as a game happens, then it's on to the next week. You're looking forward to the next game, and before you know it, you're at Christmas time. It's crazy.